Good day, good morning, and good night, depending on where you are in the world. I want to put out a little message here to get everybody to just think about what's going on here. Life as you know it could possibly not be the same again for a very long time, if ever. So we have to face the realistic possibility of what's coming our way. And I know being locked in, a lot of us aren't used to the solitude, not having something to keep us busy and distracted, or maybe you're busy and distracted watching YouTube and Netflix. And honestly, if that's not adding some constructive information to your life, you may want to set that aside. And I know there's a deal of emotion that's welling up, and there's stress going on right now in a lot of people, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of us are very scared about that. But focus on this moment, because right now, today, I would bet that you're okay. And that's all you need to focus on is right now, today. But today also determines your future. Are you going to just sit around and lock yourself in and numb yourself out until suddenly you find yourself in a real mess with no ability, for example, to get a hold of some goods that you need to maybe work the land if you believe in tilling, for example. But we're all going through this stress together, and I want us to maybe offer something to consider. We all go through the 5 stages of stress. The 5 stages. We're all going through the 5 stages of grief because of what's going on. And while the core of the economy is still running, for how long and for how well is the question. So when we look at the 5 stages of grief, first there's denial, avoidance, confusion, shock, and fear. And these things are what a lot of us face, like, oh, a virus, a lot of us are in shock. But then after shock, especially once we realize things are not going to be the same again, we then move to anger. We start to get mad at what's going on. We want to start, lashing out against others around us, or even the systems around us. So with anger, frustration, irritation, and anxiety, especially being locked in, these are going to be amplified. And then once we move beyond anger, we move into bargaining. We struggle to find the meaning, and we're reaching out to others. We're telling our story. We're telling stories about what's going on in the world. And then we move to depression, where you just feel overwhelmed and helpless. You feel hostile. You may even want to go out and fight somebody. And that's not going to solve anything. It's just the stage you're going through. Then we move into acceptance, and we explore new options, and we begin to feel better. We begin to make new plans. We begin to move on. And I want you to consider that these stages of grief are perfectly normal, and they're healthy. The only way they become unhealthy is if you stay stuck in one. If you stay stuck in anxiety and fear or anger or depression, then it's very unhealthy and very destructive to your life. But it's not necessary to spend a lot of time in those zones. You can move right through that, and you can move through rapidly. A lot of it just involves that we have to acknowledge this is the way it is. This is the way I feel, and I accept this. And it is what it is, and then move on. And as you work your way through the stages of grief, you'll reach the point where you're ready to make plans and you're ready to take action. So grieve the loss of your lifestyle and the way things have always been. Grieve the loss and recognize that more is coming, that we haven't yet got into the shortages of imported goods and materials and the loss of the jobs from the lack of those things. In the United States, for example, we depend upon a great deal of Chinese goods. And right now, everybody's under quarantine, either voluntarily or potentially not. But they tell us that we're going to start the economy again. We're going to get back to normal. But what if your job in some way depends upon Chinese goods? Are the parts that go into what your widgets are made of Chinese? Do you have a job that sells in some way items that are either partially or wholly made in China? The retail market, for example, which is one of the markets shut down right now, is almost entirely Chinese goods. And it's not just China now. A lot of countries are shutting off a lot of their borders and flows of goods and their factories. So we've had a long period of time now where there's been no boats coming in from China. And while America is still functioning, the truth is that at some point this lack of base resource needs is going to show up in our life, and it's going to be like the toilet paper riots all over again, because this camera that I'm recording this on, the hard drives, the memory chips, these things are all affordably, readily available from China until now. And if perhaps there's some of these things that you need to do for your business that come out of China and you need these to function, you should probably go ahead and get those now before the runs on that market begins. Farming or food, for example, I was surprised to find out that as much as 70% of the materials that go into our fertilizers are actually coming out of China and being shipped over here. And that kind of surprised me. So we also have the issue with closing borders where they're not going to allow immigrant labor to come over and plant and harvest our food. And farmers cannot bring the food to you without that labor. Most Americans are not interested in getting out in the field, sweating in the dirt, and working hard for a low wage. And with that labor not coming at all, food is going to become considerably more difficult or more expensive. So beyond food, though, again, is the Chinese goods and the other world market goods that are being choked off from us right now. And you know, there was a book written years ago about how in 2020 or 2019 that there would be a coronavirus and that these markets would be shut down and these power grab moves would be made. And we can't control those things, though. So I recommend everyone take a look at their life. If there's any critical things they need for their infrastructures, then I recommend you begin to gather those up now while you have the resources. There may or may not be jobs to go back to, and I don't know for how long the government can support everyone. They've given us enough money perhaps to last a month or two if you're very careful with that money, and then you can file for unemployment for a few more months. So consider that things are not going to go back to the way that things have always been. What the world's going to look like when this is over, and if this is over, because that same book talks about recurring viruses from now on, it is probably the new type of warfare to scare people and extract value from the world and exercise control. But look at the things that you can control. Consider starting your own business and generating your own value. Find something that you can do to serve others, to bring out and exchange value, whatever that value happens to be. If you have a CSA, a community-supported agriculture farm in your area, consider buying a share if that's still possible in your area. Here, it's already not possible. There are enough forward-thinking people. They realize what's going on. And so those shares are not available. But I've contacted some of these farms, and it's very possible to go to these farms and volunteer your labor and get food in exchange for your labor on these farms, because they're actually having a hard time finding the labor to keep up with the demand. So start to think outside the box, look for real possibilities. A lot of even our American industry depends upon a lot of Chinese goods. And in the past, a lot of people have started making a lot of money through services that you could go out and create a product, have it manufactured in China and ship it over. And even an individual could have a manufactured good delivered to people and create a business and make a good living. So with those infrastructures gone, start looking at what we do have available. Start looking at what you do have the power to change. And consider, while possibly you can file for unemployment that the government's backing with the stimulus package, while you're getting a check in, start canceling things like Netflix and cable if you can, and get away from all of those extra expenses. It's possible to get PDA net and put on your phone even, and then plug it into your laptop and have decent enough internet to work off your laptop through your phone. So that might allow you to cancel some additional bills in your life. And then consolidate the resources you do have and consider what the plan might be for a different future for your life. And you know, if you've been banking on the retirement from the stock market, there's a lot of value that's been lost and a lot more to be lost yet to come. So with the resources you do have, what can you do? What do you have power to affect change in? And maybe I would suggest that you would take the combined stimulus package that's coming, along with some work, along with trying to sell off some goods on eBay maybe, or going out and helping somebody and getting a little bit of money, and buy a little lot of land somewhere, preferably away from the cities and in zones of freedom where you're still able to build whatever you want without permits or permission. In fact, maybe you want to build something while the permit department's hiding out from the little bugs out there, right? So then maybe you need to build a shelter, but maybe you don't know how. So you can click the link below in the description if you want to learn how to build AirCrete. That is cement that has been foamed or aerated with cement and inflated in volume to 6 times of its original volume to create an insulating structural material that is fireproof, pest-proof, it's rot-proof, and it's insulating and it's structural. So it gives you something you can make a home out of for as little as $26 per square foot for a finished home that has the air conditioning, off-grid solar power, worm composting, flush toilet system, an entire finished structure ready to move into for $26 a square foot if you learn to do it yourself. And that's why we offer these courses. When you click the link below in the description, you will learn how to make AirCrete, how to build your own house, how to wire your home, how to put in the plumbing, how to put in the wiring, how to build solar systems, how to put in countertops and flooring. All the basic knowledge is there to show you how to build your life and start from a place of strength, because I'll be honest with you, I'm not really feeling the stress that everyone else is feeling. Yes, because I do pay attention to some of the news and what's going on, and I do get it. I feel the stress that things are going to change. And having accepted that, then when I look around at what I have is fine. In fact, in one of the courses, the Survive and Thrive Blueprint, we even talk about eating weeds. Everywhere that humans habitate, there's 13 weeds that you can eat. And if you learn how to prepare them, you can go out and prepare this. Even like the clover and the excess blackberry right now, you could be gathering these leaves up and you could be powdering them for nutrient substance later. And it may not be the greatest thing in the world, but it keeps you alive. But then if you learn how to prepare it, there's actually a restaurant that prepares weeds in a gourmet style restaurant that is incredibly delicious. So maybe you want to start working with those weeds. And so there are answers out there for living a different way. Don't get caught up in fear, because anybody can build a house, even if you're just building a basic shelter or a hexayurt out of foam board while it's available. You can do that rapidly and quickly for a few $100s, and you can entirely meet your subsistence from the land. Even in the city, you'll find dandelion and various things growing out of cracks in the sidewalk, and in more abandoned lots there's opportunity where you could do some guerrilla gardening, and there's other edible weeds again. So don't let the fear of survival overwhelm you. Know that there are solutions, and if you don't know what those solutions are and you want a plan B, or you want the ability to get off grid immediately and escape the city, or simply escape to a more peaceful shore way of life, then I invite you to come find the answers you need. Click the link below in the description and look at the 3 courses we have. We have the Introduction to AirCrete course, which teaches you how to make AirCrete and build a dome. And that's the core of some shelter knowledge. But then we also offer the Survive and Thrive Blueprint, where you get a copy of the Introduction to AirCrete course, and you learn how to live off of the land and build a food system that will allow you to subsist very quickly, including the emergency information of how to right now eat off of the land and what to plant in the most rapid possible way to get some food coming from the ground that you choose to plant yourself, and a perennial system of trees which will produce food for you for a lifetime after they're established and can get into production in as little as 2 years after starting. Now, beyond that, we have the complete step-by-step building guide of how to build an off-grid cabin, and it comes with the introduction to AirCrete, and it comes with the Survive and Thrive blueprint, and it comes with consulting time. So we've really packed some value in there to be worth more than the price you're paying for the course. And it shows you how to rapidly cast a circular AirCrete structure that is a hybrid structure with a more conventional roof and framed walls on the inside. And we teach you how to do a concrete countertop. We teach you how to do the flooring, a custom shower, a worm composting toilet system, a off-grid solar power system. We show you how to put in the air conditioning. We literally show you how to do everything. It's a project that's designed as a hybrid project, primarily to teach you a set of skills that will apply to any kind of building that you may choose. It doesn't have to be AirCrete. But the reason it's a 16-foot tiny house AirCrete structure is that for around $6,000 you can build a functional tiny house that gives you the shelter, the comfort, and everything that you need in AirCrete that is round and stormproof. The wind cannot grab a hold of this thing and blow it away. And so you have a stormproof or tornado-proof, fireproof, pest-proof, rot-proof, or if they're worried about flooding, structure that gives you a very comfortable, sound position from which you can then come back at life and not have to worry about losing your place to live and being like people during the Depression who were on the street because they had loans or they had rent and suddenly they had no income. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in the near future, but I know from the past and from the reading that this is a new type of warfare to take away your freedom and to control you. But ultimately, it's a voluntary control. Will you stay in the cities, jobless and homeless and suffering to eat? Or will you move out to a place that has what you need right now in the springtime already just growing on the ground? Will you build your own house and live without debt? Will you learn to create a business model where you can bring something back to people? For example, there's a plant or a tree that is considered a weed to all the farmers. They hate the stuff. And yet one lady has been able to go pick the leaves from this plant and roast them, smash them up, and package them. And now she's making $50,000 a month, even right now in this uncertain time, selling this product to both Japan, which loves the product, and to people here in the States. So just from the land, she found an immediate solution to provide an income. And it's these kinds of thought processes we also cover in these courses, because you've got to learn to start thinking outside the box. Find your solutions, find that place where you're okay, and turn this opportunity to slow down into something beautiful, something amazing, where you can actually start to get past the noise in your mind, get past the cycle of doubt and fear and depression, and move into a place where you can actually examine your life and realize how awesome is it that you can actually spend some time getting to know yourself and find something better to do with your life. This doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's how you frame or interpret this situation that determines if it's good or if it's bad. And once you have a home that's paid for and unlimited food to eat, and you know your survival is sure, you don't have to worry about the survival thing, and you can get out of fight and flight, and you can then thrive in a way that suits you, in a new way, in a better way. Because in this new age, the world is changing. And I just want to put this out there so that everyone can consider early, before the masses really catch on to exactly what's going on, and be prepared for those changes, both emotionally, internally, and mentally, and emotionally first for yourself, but then also to take the resources that you do have while you have them and consider making some changes in your life. If you're a business that makes things, then you better start finding American sources for those materials to continue that manufacture process. If you're working in the retail and food industry, you have to consider people may not have the disposable income they once had, and your job may not really exist as it has existed in the past. But then it may, we don't know. But we do know that the Chinese goods for a period of time are going to dry up. We do know that a lot of people are going to lose jobs, and while service industry is going, as long as they have the parts and materials to do so, they will continue. But eventually those may slow down too. And when they do, that means people have less spendable or disposable income that they can use to just buy trinkety things. So I hope that you find this helpful. Also check out the tinygiantlife.biz website and sign up for the email list, stay up to date with some of the information and the stuff that's going on.